Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel, and for those of you who are not subscribed, please hit that like button. We picked this film up where he's actively left the service and his peace is short-lived when Felix Leiter, his old friend from the CIA, turns up asking for help, leading Bond back to the British intelligence. Now, it's a 25th movie in the James Bond era and the fifth movie for Daniel Craig. And it's relied on a trial of the previous four films to carry this plot along, kind of like in a Marvel Endgame. And that's kind of really what you get in this film. Some people might say, yeah, is it a standalone movie? But really, you need to watch them all. But Rami Malek fills the role of the film's villain, Safin, a man scarred and wanting to destroy a world in a typical sci-fi Bond-like scheme, inspired by the assassination of his entire family. Now, he plays the villain in a very smooth, white cat stroking, beautiful way, but I say sci-fi because it can't be a Bond movie without the bioweapon or the scientific plot, can it? And this is the only way really a Bond film kind of works. This plot is maybe the best use of the word world domination that we've ever witnessed in a Bond film outside of Goldfinger and Moonraker. Now, Safin's character suffers from more development which you'd think in a 2 hour and 50-minute film would pay dividends. You could have kind of spare us an extra 10 minutes of seeing his family being killed. That for me would have impacted the viewer in ways that the film was looking for. But it lacks that setup, meaning that you have a bad guy that we really don't care about and turns into a cliche scarred Bond villain. And it's quite a few of those in Bond movies. That we don't know anything about you. So Safin's entire body was covered in these scars, acquired during the aforementioned massacre of his family, of which he was the only survivor. But how he got the scars is anyone's guess. Look, his plan is simple: destroy the world with a revenge plot that should be against the people who caused his pain. Instead, he turns into a global mass murderer for no other reason at all. It's a shame because these types of films really ever get the injection of some innovation into their villains. And I was expecting some of that in this film, and we just really don't get it. Outside of this, the rest of the film is brilliant. I don't know how to say this, but Daniel Craig could not have delivered a more perfect ending. But this is the perfect way to say goodbye. It's an emotionally impactful send-off and a story plot covering 15 years in films that spanned 3 decades. Now, everyone has their favourite Bond. Connery, Moore, Brosnan, I get it. Mine is Roger Moore. But now I have to say it's Daniel Craig. None of them had the chance to bring what Daniel Craig did to the big screen. He changed Bond for the better, made him human, someone who cares, someone who is willing to put his body on the line. Countless injuries he's had playing the character as well. That's why I think why it's difficult for Sony to bring him back for the last one, because he had so much injuries walking into this. He was just like, oh, not again. When Casino Royale came out in 2006, many people didn't actually rush to the theatres to see it. In fact, they only watched Casino Royale as a catch-up to the plot that they wasn't really following. So you may have seen Skyfall. Well, how did this all come apart? So that's the reason why a lot of people watched the first 2 films, because they didn't really catch up on it. Some fans didn't realise after 3 films it was all connected. But it became something that many action movie fans wanted to get into. When I watched Casino Royale, it was empty in the theatre. And Bond even got the girl. You know, remember Vesper Lynn, which is Ava Green? Only to lose her after a devastating betrayal. That shocked the character as a whole. Now, it connected with viewers in ways that no other Bond achieved in history. This added a new layer of context so that those experiences that we saw carried over to the character even more and carried more weight. This 5-film journey brings us some shocking moments that will live with us forever. The way Bond reacts to the death of Rene Mattis in Quantum of Solace, to how he reacts to the death of Felix Leiter, played by the amazing Jeffrey Wright, Marvel's What If's Watcher, and we also know him in Westworld as Bernard. In No Time to Die, it impacted Daniel Craig's Bond to forever, and we felt that through Bond's personal relationship and growth. Now, with the death of Vesper, for Bond to fall in love again in this film with a Spectre member, Mr. White's daughter, in this film we learned that he kind of let her go at the beginning of the film. while she secretly fathered his child with a daughter, Madeline. Now, Bond has a choice to make at the end of the film where he ultimately gives his life for his family in a heartbreaking moment. Now, Madeline is the first Bond girl to appear in more than one film since Eunice Grayson, who, as Sylvia Trench, appeared in Dr. No and From Russia with Love. Also, Rebellovich was in The Spy Who Loved Me, For Your Eyes Only, and Octopussy. So there's not a lot of Bond girls that appear in multiple films, but she does. Now, when Bond descends upon Saffron's lair and manages to get Madeline and his daughter out safely, with help from Lashana Lynch's Naomi, aka the new 007, or a 007. We don't know whether she's going to be the new 007 moving forward. But Bond stays behind to ensure that the missiles from nearby ships kind of destroy the whole layer for good. Now, in order for the missiles to wipe out every trace of the bioweapon before it's unleashed, Bond has to open the blast doors to control the room. For me, this is like the third act was stunning in this film, and it's normally where other films fall to pieces. Now, Bond and Saffron get into a fistfight, during which Saffron breaks a vial of the bioweapon on Bond's head, and Saffron reveals that this is the version of the bioweapon tied directly to Madeleine's DNA, which means if Bond comes into contact with Madeleine or Matilda, he'll instantly kill his lover and his daughter. This sets up, as I said, the best Bond ending that we've ever witnessed. Bond shoots Saffron and is now resigned to his fate. He opens the blast doors again and confirms with Q that once exposed to the bioweapon, it cannot be cleaned off. It's eternal. In Q's own words, meaning that Bond cannot leave this island alive. Now, Bond stares out at the ocean while the missiles rain down on him in a glorious shot. I tell you, the cinematography in this film really, really is outstanding. So, a lot of people saying, is Matilda really James Bond's daughter? Well, Madeleine confirmed this once and for all, that he was the father during their final phone call together. Now, the No Time to Die brings that Marvel cinematic feeling from pulling from previous entries to create an impressive story plot that everything evolves around what happens here was planned all along. And it's all connected. Now, this film kind of contributed to the 5 decades of Bonds thanks to throwbacks and Easter eggs, which we talked about previously before. With maybe the most exciting was the resurrection of Bond's iconic Aston Martin DB5 for the film's final act. But here, in this film, we kind of go one better. Here, they have so many Easter eggs which comic book fans enjoy as they are nods to the source material. We have the trademark drink, vodka martini shaken not stirred, as well as putting him behind the wheel of a DB5 again, including those minigun headlights, which I thought was fantastic. In one of the film's first scenes, we see Bond reassuring Madeleine that they have all the time in the world. Those of you Bond fans remember this from a famous line on Her Majesty's Secret Service, which Bond's wife, Tracy, is tragically assassinated moments before their marriage. This kind of hits home even further by the amazing composer Hans Zimmer, who infuses an orchestral arrangement of Louis Armstrong's song, We Have All the Time in the World. Now, the film moves forward 5 years after the kind of prologue, and Bond has taken himself to Jamaica. This is where he's now leading a quiet life. But this is a further Easter egg to Dr. No, which is predominantly set in this location. And also, for those of you who didn't know, the author Ian Fleming wrote all of the Bond novels in Jamaica. Now, Time to Die features 4 different models of the iconic Aston Martin car. After his DB5 receives a bit of damage, Bond uncovers his V8 Vantage, a classic model, my favourite actually, not seen since Timothy Dalton's The Living Daylights. The ceramic bulldog as well, some of you might have missed this, the ceramic bulldog from Skyfall that Judi Dench's M left Bond can also be seen in this garage, which I thought was a nice touch. Now, if you guys saw the portrait of in the office of Judi Dench's M hung on the wall at MI6, with her first appearance coming in GoldenEye to her last in Skyfall. But if you look closely on the left-hand side, a similar portrait of Robert Brown's M can also be seen lingering in the same corridor. Now, he played a character succeeding Bernard Lee in 4 films from Octopussy to License to Kill. One of my favourite Easter eggs is when Bond leaves the office He doesn't even look at Moneypenny, but he smoothly throws his visitor's badge into the bin without even looking. And as you know, this is a throwback to when his coat and hat in the old Bond films, he just used to throw them without looking and they used to end up on the coat hanger. So I thought that was a really nice touch. But one of the film's final action sequences sees Bond firing a shot into the tunnel, kind of walking into a tunnel, quickly turning and shooting like the classic gun barrel sequence that opens all of the Bond movies. That was a really nice touch as well. So now we've talked about all the Marvel Easter eggs above, and a world ending wouldn't be the same without after scene credits. But here's the catch. There's only a message in the after scene credits, and what we need to figure out is, what does that message mean? Daniel Craig's tenure as James Bond comes to an end in No Time to Die. But the film concludes the classic message that Bond will return. Now, at the very end credits, it's promising. Despite Craig's departure from the franchise, this means it's far from over. And producer Barbara Broccoli recently said that in the search for a new leading actor, that will begin in 2022. So this is what I talked about above when I was saying, well, the issue for me is that Naomi is already 007. But because of the old picture we've seen, in terms of the old picture of Robert Brown's M, maybe this means that James Bond is a name that's given to every 007. Because what they're doing is they're basically going back through those times, Dr. No, Octopussy and all those films, and saying that M existed at that time. And they're saying Judi Dench's M existed in the GoldenEye time. So it's considered, the fact that we've seen all those James Bonds play 007, that James Bond is the name that's given to every 007. That's what I took out of it. I'd like to know what your views are in the comment section below. But overall, I give this film a solid 8, which gives us an intense reinvention of the 007 character, which was directed actually by Martin Campbell, who did GoldenEye. My favourite ever Bond movie of all time, as you guys know, is Goldfinger. But let me know what you guys think of it. It would have scored a little bit higher, but the villain was just, it wasn't good.